Frank, it's number 27 on your list. The Ghost and the Darkness. The Ghost in the Darkness is a 1996 action-adventure film directed by Stephen Hopkins with a script by William Goldman, Hollywood legend. It stars Michael Douglas, Val Kilmer, Tom Wilkinson, John Kani, Brian McCardie, Puri, Bernard Hill, and Emily Mortimer. In The Ghost in the Darkness, Val Kilmer plays Colonel John Henry Patterson, a bridge engineer who is tasked by Tom Wilkinson and Robert Beaumont to finish building a bridge that will allow the British to basically rule over the goods and services transportation industry in Africa. They're trying to beat France and a couple of other countries so that they have almost complete control over their territory. Patterson goes down to Africa and meets up with Samuel, played by John Kani, who is one of the leaders of the local tribesmen, and Angus Starling, played by Brian McCardie, who is a doctor put there by the same company that is employing Patterson. Shortly after Patterson gets there, lions start attacking his workers and killing people off. At first, Patterson thinks that he's able to get this under control. He is a crack shot hunter and he ends up killing one of the lions. But ultimately, that just ends up pissing off the other lions and they start going even harder, killing people in the group. Eventually, Robert Beaumont comes down to visit Patterson, realizes that the situation is out of Patterson's control, and hires Charles Remington, a world-renowned hunter played by Michael Douglas, to remedy the situation. So Frank, your thoughts on The Ghost in the Darkness are? Another one I always wanted to see because of the poster. I bought it from a local shop when they closed down. Kinda great. Most likely just good. Would love a darker take on this material. So I actually watched this one last year before your list was made and we agreed to do all this stuff. And it's interesting because I remember liking it okay, but not being in love with it by any means, thinking it was just something that I was probably never going to think about again. And then it popped up on your list. I thought, oh, this will be an easy one because I've already seen it. But ultimately, by the time I got to it, I was like, well, I remember the basic plot of the film and I remember how it made me feel, but I should probably watch it again just to kind of get back in that headspace. And I actually liked it a lot more on the second time that I watched it. It really is a old school kind of like action adventure film, almost in a weird way, like kind of in the vein of like Indiana Jones, like some of those movies. Different look and different feel, obviously, but it does have that kind of feeling, especially because it kind of takes place in the same time period as the opening to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is like early 1900s-ish, where young Indy finds the Coronado's Cross while on a Boy Scout camping trip. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot more the second time around. I actually found Val Kilmer's performance a little bit more acceptable. The first time I saw it, for some reason, I just didn't like what he was doing with his character. I just wasn't there. I love Michael Douglas in the movie because Michael Douglas is just pretty much great in everything. But Val Kilmer was like a sticking point for me. He just seemed off for some reason. But then this time when I watched the movie, his character made a lot more sense for some reason. I can't pinpoint why, but whatever it was, it just clicked more. The cinematography is really great. The writing is pretty good. William Goldman wrote it, and he is sort of a legendary American screenwriter. He wrote several legendary screenplays like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, All the President's Men, and Marathon Man. So he's a very well-known, or he was a very well-known screenwriter. He's passed away at this point. it was kind of funny watching this movie because you can really see like this is the point where like CGI is like starting to come into the consciousness of film goers, but like most filmmakers are not quite there yet. So you had these lion attacks that were very obviously green screen, and you could see sort of like that green halo sometimes around the lions, which made it kind of weird. And there were so many times where like obviously the lions, it was really obvious that the lions were not in the same dimensional space that the actors were in, and the lions like looked like they were the wrong size, or there was just something that was not right about them. So you can tell that they got green screened, and comped in later on. Other than that, though, I thought the film was great. It really kept my attention the whole time. I enjoyed the action and the adventure of it. There's something in films that take place in that like turn of the last century period that just feel very like open and free and adventurous. I don't know why that is, but even trains during that period, which there are trains, that take them to different places, and they're building a bridge for a train and all this other stuff. Even trains are like not really that old at that point. There's no TV, there's no radio, there's no phones, there's no nothing, and it's just like Val Kilmer out in the African, jungle, and he's just like building a bridge, and he's having an adventure. So it was a fun watch, and I'm glad that you put it on the list because, like I said, I watched it before, did not like it as much, but I definitely liked it more this time around. So I feel like I got a positive thing out of this. Okay, Frank, so the next film on your list is number 28. It's Sudden Death, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. I have never seen any Van Damme films. This is literally going to be my very first Van Damme film. So in it, he plays a fireman who is on duty during a Stanley Cup playoff game. He brings his kids to the stadium as a gift, but it just so happens that during that game, the Vice President of the United States, who is in the owner's box, is being kidnapped by a group of terrorists and essentially held hostage. And effectively, the whole stadium is being held hostage because the whole thing is like rigged to blow. And if the terrorists don't get what they want, then they're going to blow the whole stadium and like kill everybody inside. So, should be interesting. All right, Frank. Until next time, thanks for watching. Everybody else who watches, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. That's great. Love reading your comments, especially you, Frank. And I will see you next time. Have a good one.